Hi, all, and welcome to
Jamie and Old Captain story.
Episode 4 Old Captain and the Deep Sea Dunk, Part 1. One day, Old Captain and Simon were walking down to the harbor where Old Captain's ship, the Whimsy Wayfarer, was docked. They walked up the gangplank to find the whole crew enamored by something. It appeared that a very short wizard in a red robe and hat was doing a trick for them. He was making a basketball levitate. And on top of that, a colorful and ornately crafted top was spinning in the opposite direction as the ball. Is that Miles? Old Captain said. Look, Simon, said the little wizard as he turned to see Old Captain and his brother. Miles, here! Simon tossed a pencil to his little brother. The little wizard did not catch the pencil, but through his mastery of magic made it levitate horizontally above the top and made it spin in the opposite direction. If you looked really close, you could see that even the pencil itself was rotating too. Wow, Old Captain said. I'm impressed. A big man with round shoulders and a patchy beard came up to the old cavalier. It was Big Tamble, the first mate. Old Captain, this little in here just walked on board and acted like he was part of the crew. And then he started doing these tricks and distracting the men from all their work. Old Captain put a hand on the first mate's shoulder. It's all right, Tamble. Allow me to introduce you to Sir Simon and Miles, the young knight and the younger wizard. All right, then. Big Tamble rolled his eyes. So, 2 more cots. I got it. Big Tamble walked off grumbling and barking orders to other crew members. The 2 boys looked at Old Captain. He'll be fine, Old Captain waved dismissively. So good to see you, Miles. He put his arms out for a hug and lifted the boy in the air. Miles had hair that was a bit darker than Simon's, and his eyes were the deepest brown you ever saw, like rich soil. And if you looked close enough, you might see something growing inside. So, Miles stopped his levitating basketball trick. Where are we going? Old Captain knelt to meet the young wizard's gaze and said, normally I would say, let's just see where the wind takes us. But this time, I have something I think you'll both want to see. The Whimsy Wayfarer set sail, and Old Captain showed the 2 boys around the ship. When he got to the captain's quarters, he showed them his map table and all the many maps. They were very interested in how he could navigate the sea. How do you do it? Miles asked. There are no street signs. People were navigating the open seas before there were street signs, Old Captain said, and then thought about it. Well, at least I think so, anyway. Want to see some treasures? Yeah, the boys replied. The walls of Old Captain's cabin were adorned with all manner of items and oddities from around the world. There was a very long spyglass hanging on the wall, a shield with a lion's head painted on it, a sword that looked rather plain, and several spears, bows, and apparent talismans from exotic isles, and a medium-sized leather satchel with a very old shoulder strap. He showed them his far-shot bow, the scale of a weeping wyvern, the withered eye of a harpy, and a single black tail hair of an 8-legged horse that he used to string the far-shot bow. These were some of the most prized items he'd collected over the years of traveling the globe. Old Captain was delighted to have his friends aboard his ship and his home. He enjoyed the expressions on their faces when he told stories of how he got some of his most unique items. What's this? Simon picked up a colorful little box. It had every color of the rainbow on it, fashioned in even smaller squares and set about randomly. Ah, Old Captain said. I call that the Cube of Impossibility. Simon turned it over in his hands. Why? Old Captain was helping Miles with the very long spyglass when he said, well, because it's impossible. Miles looked through the spyglass and out the porthole window. He was looking up at the sky. Why does everything look so small? The little wizard asked. Without saying a word, Old Captain took the spyglass and turned it around, so that Miles was looking through the eyepiece instead of the end. "Oh," Miles said with a laugh. Old Captain got the satchel off the wall and slung it around his shoulder. "This," he said as he patted the leather bag, "is maybe my favorite." "Really?" Simon asked incredulously. "Why?" "This is the bag of grabbing," Old Captain said. "What does it do?" Miles asked, looking away from the sky. "Well, are either of you hungry?" Old Captain asked the brothers. "Yeah," they both replied. "Miles," Old Captain pointed to the wizard, "what do you feel like eating?" "A burger. A burger from Old McDonald's." "Very good. What would you like on your burger?" "Cheese and ketchup, please." Old Captain reached into his bag and pulled out a wrapped bundle in wax paper and handed it to Miles. "Wow, it's hot," Miles said. He unwrapped a cheeseburger with ketchup from his favorite restaurant. "How about you, Simon?" Old Captain asked. "I'll take a burger too, please," Simon replied, "but no cheese. Just ketchup and lettuce only." Once again, Old Captain reached into the bag of grabbing and pulled out another burger, just as Simon ordered. "Wow, how does it do that?" Miles asked with a mouthful of cheeseburger. "Magic," Old Captain said. "Are you going to have a burger too?" Simon asked as he unwrapped his. "Oh, no." Old Captain put a hand to his belly, thinking of the last time he ate burgers. "I think I'll just have a burrito this time." He pulled a burrito wrapped in tinfoil from the bag and sat down with the boys to eat. The food was delicious, and everyone's appetite was satisfied. Simon wiped his mouth with a napkin and approached the sword hanging on the wall. It was a long sword, like the type a knight or a king might use. "So where are we going?" Simon asked. "You'll see," Old Captain said as he bit into his burrito. "Don't want to ruin the surprise." Simon walked around the cabin seemingly satisfied with that answer, while Miles was looking through the spyglass again. "Where did you get this?" Simon asked, running his finger along the sword's leather scabbard. "Oh," Old Captain took a drink of water. "That's the Sword of Arrows." Simon's eyes widened as he took in the gleaming sight. Miles's face scrunched up. "That doesn't make any sense." "Why is it called that?" asked Simon, taking up the question for his little brother. "Well," Old Captain scratched his beard, "have you ever heard the expression slings and arrows?" "No," the boys both said. "Well, basically it means to insult someone. That's what this sword does." "I don't understand," Miles said. "Can you show me?" Simon asked. Old Captain regarded the young knight thoughtfully. He took the sword and its scabbard off the wall and told Miles to stand back. Old Captain took a step back and unsheathed the sword of arrows. He brought the gleaming blade up to meet Simon. Old Captain's sword seemed to hum at first, and then it began. "Ah, what's this?" a voice, apparently from the sword, said. "A boy knight? Ha! What's the world coming to? He's not even big enough to fill his own shoes. Ha ha! Go on then, take a swing at me, Junior. Take your best shot, I dare you." Old Captain smiled at the gawking Simon and Miles, and just before the insults got too strong, he lowered the sword and started to sheathe it again. "And that is the Sword of Arrows," Old Captain said as he put the sword back on the wall, but it wasn't quite done yet. "You know you're not fooling anyone with that ridiculous hat. Everyone knows you're bald." Old Captain set the sword back in its place and gave it a little flick with his finger. "Shh! Ah, come on, I was just getting started." The three of them walked back out onto the bridge of the Whimsy Wayfarer to see that they'd been underway for some time. The boys were ecstatic to be at sea, and rushed to the stern to get a better look. The wind was strong, and the sky a clear cobalt blue. Up ahead, Old Captain spied an outcropping of rock from an island shore. "Ah, we're here," he said. A colony of sea lions were gathered on the rocks in a semicircle. Just off the shore there was the mostly submerged mast of a very old ship, with the tattered sails and rigging still attached and dipping into the water. The old crow's nest was still there as well, hanging just above the sea surface. "An old shipwreck," Simon said. "Look over there!" Miles cried out and pointed off the starboard bow. Old Captain trained his spyglass to the direction indicated and saw what looked like a pod of dolphins swimming together towards the rocks. Suddenly, the ship rocked a little as if something large had passed under it and created a wake. Old Captain went to the starboard bow to take a look and see what caused it, and saw the enormous blue-gray body of a whale shark. "That's a big one," Old Captain said. Another, even bigger creature followed the whale shark and made the ship rock from side to side. It was a blue whale. "Look at that!" Simon shouted. "Is it chasing the other one?" Old Captain gestured for the boys to come over where he was and put his arms around their shoulders. "Are you ready for this?" he asked. "Ready for what?" Miles asked. Old Captain nodded to the spectacle by the island and the shipwreck. "Just watch." The whole crew gathered around the starboard bow to watch as well. Just then, something shot out of the water near the stern where Miles had been standing. "Whoa!" Old Captain said. Miles pointed upward. "Look!" In the sky, flying at a near perfect arc, was what appeared to be a giant clam. It flew high through the air as if it were lobbed by a great arm, and came down and hit the shipwrecked crow's nest and passed through it into the water, making a huge splash. "Wow!" Old Captain looked around at the crew. "Did you guys see that?" Just then, an orca jumped out of the water and landed, sending a huge splash onto the ship's deck as if it had done a cannonball in a backyard pool. The sea lions roared and chortled. The whale shark came up again, and then within a moment another giant clam shot out of the water and narrowly missed the shipwrecked crow's nest. "What are they doing?" Simon asked. "Just watch," Old Captain said. "You'll see." The spectacle continued as Old Captain and the boys watched. Each time the giant clam flew, it seemed to be propelled by a different sea creature. Once it was the whale shark bumping the clam with his nose. Once the blue whale launched it with his blowhole. At another time it was the orca using his tail like a catapult to send the giant clam into the crow's nest. The orca made it every time. Sea lions and even some seals started roaring and barking every time the orca hit its target. Even the crew of the Whimsy Wayfarer got into the cheers. "Well, what do you think?" Old Captain asked. Both boys' faces lit up with a realization at the same time. "They're playing basketball!" Old Captain smiled. "Boys," he said, "welcome to the Deep Sea Dunk." To be continued. And that's all for now. See you next time on
Submarine Captain Story.